who had the biggest fall from grace in history.
Philippe Pétain was a national hero of France after World War I. He won the 9-month Battle of Verdun as a general and inspired hope and optimism at a time when it seemed like the war would never end. Fast forward to World War II and he became the head of state of Vichy France and was a puppet for the Nazis. He ran Vichy state in a semi-fascist manner and constantly sought to appease the Nazis to preserve Vichy's limited freedoms, including signing anti-Semitic ordinances and allowing deportation to concentration camps. At the end of the war, he was convicted of treason on all counts and originally sentenced to death before being reduced to life imprisonment by Charles de Gaulle on account of Pétain's advanced agent service during World War I.
De Gaulle would later summarize Pétain's life as successively banal, then glorious, then deplorable, but never mediocre, and also the Marshal is a great man who died in 1925. The trouble is, he didn't know it.
Jimmy Savile, mega famous UK radio DJ and TV presenter, did a ton of charity work, was a Knight of the Realm. Post-death, he was revealed to be a massive pedophile, protected and ignored by those around him for decades. Edit, Savile not Savile.
Benedict Arnold. Hero general of the American Revolution. One of George Washington's best assets. Felt slighted and overlooked by his contemporaries. Switched sides to the British, made no difference to the war effort. Died in disgrace in England. His name is now a synonym for traitor. Edit, since this is getting some attention, for anyone interested in learning more about the man, I highly recommend watching Benedict Arnold, A Question of Honor, a TV movie from 2003. Starring Aidan Quinn as Arnold and Kelsey Grammer as Washington.
Robespierre.
OJ has to be out there.
Bill Cosby. Jared Fogle.
Ian Watkins, former singer of the Welsh emo/rock band Lost Prophets. Massively successful band in the scene. Turns out he dealt meth to fans to abuse them and then rape their babies/toddlers. Yes, you read right. I almost threw up when I read the indictment. Locked away for life, that one. The band has erased all music from all services as far as possible. It's tainted forever.
Roses are red, violets are glorious, don't try to surprise, Oscar Pistorius.
Chris Benoit. He was famous as a pro wrestler until he murdered his wife and child.
Icarus.
Fritz Haber, a German chemist and Nobel Prize winner. He helped pioneer the Haber process for synthesizing ammonia. This is important, because it was a key ingredient in artificial fertilizer. His actions enabled the world to feed itself. Unlocked the chemistry behind allowing us to grow food that outstrips the consumption of humanity. In the 1900s he figured out the chemistry behind allows us to make sure no one died of famine ever again, providing we put in the input. It was now possible to feed the world thanks to him, and he laid the groundwork for further developments, at a time when much of the world was still illiterate and ruled by kings. He has saved countless lives from hunger. Untold millions. Unlocking a piece of science that changed the face of organic chemistry forever. Then came the First World War. If he were a sorcerer, it would be as if he turned to the darkest of arts. After saving the world, and gifting such an innovation to humanity, he then turned his mind to destroying it. He invented chemical warfare, designed chemical weapons from scratch, unleashed chlorine gas, and founded an entire dark science that bore the weight of sarin, phosphorus, chlorine, and other unholy weapons of war used by war criminals and tyrants for the next century. He led brigades devoted to chemical war, recruited other renowned scientists to his cause, and turned the science most devoted to creation and change for the betterment of humanity into another weapon. I'm a chemist.
This science is the most used, visible, and strikes a balance between raw universal forces and physical applications. It is nothing short of the engineering of reality, shaping the universe like clay in our hands. And he used it to kill. On an industrial scale. And thanks to him, there will be no going back. In my mind, he is the greatest fall from grace. From one of humanity's greatest, to one its most forsaken.
Jim Jones. He originally stood up for civil rights, then he became a cult leader. From a civil rights leader to cult murderer who was responsible for more than 900 deaths.
Not the biggest, but Armie Hammer casually outing himself as a cannibal was pretty big. Edit. There is a docuseries about it called House of Hammer.
Benedict Arnold would be celebrated as the second most important founding father after George Washington, if not for, well, you know. Philippe Pétain would be one. Napoleon went from being emperor and having control over half of Europe to being exiled on a tiny island. Of course, he came back, but it was short-lived and he got exiled again to an even more remote island, LMAO.
Lance Armstrong.
By the time I was a child, Bill Cosby was so universally recognized as an icon of wholesome comedy that one of the most popular kids shows of my youth was literally just a cartoon about his childhood. Now that little cartoon show's legacy is tainted by the very subject of the show itself. That's a fall from grace. From being trusted to be a part of your kid's formative years, to becoming one of the most vile and disliked man of all time. Aung San Suu Kyi won a Nobel Peace Prize freeing her country from the grip of military rule. Then years later used that military power to oppress the Rohingya Muslims.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.